I think that was the big part for me was really just accepting that this is just a continuous process. There are
Mhm.
parts and pieces of me that I'm not going to be fully looking through all of it in this particular lifetime. I know that, and I'm okay with that. And I think
Mhm.
for me, it was just embracing that. No, that's a part of my cycle this
Yeah.
time. Right. Hey, how you been?
Hey. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right too. It's been I want to say deep process the last week.
Yeah, riding the wave, next wave, and next wave, and next.
And the next wave.
I feel like that should be the name of the series instead. Which wave are we riding this week?
I like that. That's probably something I'll do.
It's cool, isn't it? I like that. 'Cause it is, it's true. Even though energy wave, same thing, it's like which vibration of the wave are we at? Sometimes it can be more intense for others than it is for us, or vice versa. And I guess it's not comparing it to like I
Sure.
think in the spiritual community there's so much comparison of like, oh well, I've already healed that trauma. I've already worked through that. Like, well, good for you. Really nice to look, really nice to hear. But I'm still there. And I guess I just wanted to highlight that there's no shame wherever you are in your journey and whatever we talk about. I did see a woman comment on one of the videos, our videos that I posted, and she basically said that she felt like she didn't understand the language and she'd been doing this a long time, like a couple of years, and she still feels like she doesn't understand the terminology. And I totally get that because it
Oh, yeah.
sounds way more complicated than it is. And what I would say in response to that comment is just sit with the energy of it, sit with the frequency of the video, and
Sure.
break it down on like what it feels like to you, what it means to you, rather than knowing all the words and terminology. People bring up stuff that I don't have a clue what they're talking about. Then they
Totally.
explain it, and I know exactly what they're on about. I just call it something else. So sometimes it's human translation and terminology, and sometimes I don't have a clue what they're on about because I just don't have a clue what they're on about, because it's just something
Totally.
that I've not
Yeah.
looked at. Like, I don't know anything about birth charts or astrology or anything to do with that. I know the bare minimum of that. And I'm cool with that because I'm not drawn to look at that in any way. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's fantastic and it brings so much magical, wondrous things, but it's just not what I specifically have been called to look at in this lifetime. And so I don't over question that and I don't deep it. And again, with the layer of spiritual healing, sometimes I do fall into that trap of, or maybe I'm not as far on as other people.
Yep.
And then I'm like, oh, shut up with yourself. We're all where we need to be and we're all exactly at the place where we need to be. Because if we'd all done the same thing at the same time, how would we be able to help each other in different aspects? The point is that we've all got different skill sets, different mastery of skills that we've spent time working on that we can offer to other people whilst we can exchange and receive their offerings that they've spent their whole lifetime honing in on as well.
Absolutely. I think that's been a big old misconception for me to like debunk within myself. Like, oh my gosh, I thought I healed this already. And
Mhm.
it, knowing like that piece comes up every so often in the wave. And I don't feel like at that point it's I need to heal this. This is I'm going to change my relationship to that.
Yeah,
Right.
what a great way to look at it.
Instead of like, oh my gosh, this layer came up with it. Like, where am I at? Obviously, I'm not as far as I thought I was. And at the end of the day, that goes back to the comparison piece and like, who am I comparing myself to?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I got nobody but myself in there. And the language, just so everybody knows, it confuses me too. And, you know, I've had to break all of those down to see what they mean to me. And I don't really use them as much anymore because I'm like, that just, no, doesn't feel right to me. Nor does it feel like I want to put myself in that position to have to like break it down. So I've really like more humanized my terminology, though sometimes I'll still use those phrases for things that feel appropriate to me. And I'm never going to consider myself healed. Like I'm just not. I'm not
That's
going to
not
get
the
that
point.
point.
Yeah, because it's not the point. We're not coming here to be healed, in my opinion. By the point you're healed, you're no longer in a human body because we're not meant to be a healed person living in this human vessel. Some people might disagree, and that's absolutely fine. But in my opinion, I've always said it's like the layers of the onion because you can't expect yourself to just work through one aspect of something and then be done, it's healed. You have gone through multifaceted layers and programs and experience after experience after experience that compiled that trauma response, compiled that defense mechanism, compiled that subconscious little pockets and pockets and pockets and pockets that we've created in his brains
Yep.
for survival instinct because we are mammals wired to survive. We are
Totally.
beings in our body that are wired to protect ourselves and defend ourselves against danger and threat and any perceived danger and threat. And so
Totally.
anything that your body has experienced throughout its life that could have been a perceived threat, we have absorbed that as trauma in muscle memory, in cognitive mind, in subconscious mind, in the adrenal systems, in the nervous system. Like we've engraved that fear so deep in his body so that we protect ourselves. So that there's no, in my opinion, way on earth that you could unravel every single incident and layer that has ever happened to you in your whole lifetime and release it and receive, and because then you wouldn't be able to feel safe and protected and like your body could defend itself. Sometimes those fear responses are a part of being a human because they keep you alive.
Sure. For
I've
sure.
had many experiences where I've been out walking the dogs and all of a sudden, I just got this wave of fear and like panic, and I've just gone the other way. And one time I started running, and I was doing a run down the hill, and there was a dude behind me that started running as well. Don't know to this day where he was going or what he was running to, whether he was running because I was running or whether he was trying to chase me. I still don't know. But all I know is I had the most horrible feeling and I
Sure.
turned around and started running. And then I got down to where people were, and then my guy turned left. So who knows? But I know I listened to that fear response within me and that intuition based spike of adrenaline. That is something that your body needs to do to protect itself, to keep itself safe. I wasn't in a dangerous environment. Some would say maybe I was just walking the dog, it was not a risky, specific, adrenaline filled experience, but yet it created that response to provide me with safety and protection. So I guess the point of it is I don't believe we should be fully healed. What does that mean?
Yeah.
What
What
does
is it?
that even look like?
Uh-huh.
How do you even break that down? Because for me, it's important to release stuff that no longer serves me. And
For
that's a really better way of phrasing it in my brain and gets rid of, like we said, that, oh, am I not doing it right? Am I not doing enough? Because I used to think that a lot. And instead, I think, what can I get rid of at this time that I'm carrying that's no longer meant to be there? Because then it's like a clearing out of the house rather than I'm not expecting to go in and do a full house renovation on every single tiny nook and cranny in a day because it's not going to happen. And it's the same thing with a human. And by the time we've gone to the rest of the rooms, there'll be stuff that needs redoing in that first room. And that's the point. It's constantly an ever evolving, evolutionizing project, which you also don't need to overthink like, oh, I need to be always working on myself. It's just the point is you're always going to be doing it.
sure.
Don't try so hard to try and have it finished, you
Right.
know.
Right.
There's no finish line.
There's no finish line. I think that was the big part for me was really just accepting that this is just a continuous process. There are
Mm,
parts and pieces of me that I'm not going to be fully looking through all of it in this particular lifetime. I know that. And I'm okay with that. And I think
mm.
for me it was just embracing that. No, that's a part of my cycle this
Yeah,
time. And I'm gonna be okay with it. I'm gonna again, if when it pops up, I'm gonna either well, first I usually embrace because it's a part of me, regardless. Like
yeah,
I'm in it. That's a part of me. I'm gonna be in acceptance of it. How do I want to orient myself with it? Uh,
mm,
are there parts and pieces of it that my system still needs to keep it safe? Because sometimes that's a part of it. Like that, those protective mechanisms I really appreciate because otherwise I wouldn't be able to function in certain ways.
exactly.
Right. That wouldn't be good. If I can never go out, exactly, talk
Mhm.
to talk to people, which sometimes feels that way, then I want to keep some of those protective mechanisms running through there. They might change over time, right? They might show up differently, my protectors, how that might look. But as far as like I need to heal this or I don't carry that language anymore. I used to, and it always put me in the shitter because I was like, oh my God, now I have to fix myself, right? I have to go into these spaces. But really, no, I'm going to let it be present. I'm going to be present with it. My body, my system, I trust it enough to know that that's not working for me. If it's not working for me, then how can I start the releasing process or shift it to something else?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Redirect that energy. And I loved what you said, like acknowledgement and reorientation. That seems to be coming up a lot for people, myself a little bit as well, but I seem to have spoken like three different people that have been experiencing like quite a physical symptom of depression, anxiety,
Yeah.
anger, frustration, no patience, deep upset and overwhelm of emotion. And I've sat with them a little bit and spoke to him, and it really took me back to in my journey. And I started spirituality at 17. I did it a lot before that, but let's say I officially started. I became a tarot card reader at 17.
Yep.
And so I was in this world for a while. And then I realized when I was about 21, I'm not actually okay. Like, I can provide great help to other people. And I could then, I was a fantastic reader, fantastic. But yet I just felt so empty inside, and I felt so alone. I felt so angry. Oh my God, I had so much rage, like so much rage. It was like I was a 6 foot boxer ready to fight people, and this like four
Yeah.
foot, 5 foot, 5 foot little white woman ready to fight everybody. Like I was really angry, so angry, and that was my inner teen in so much pain. And yeah, I was just not in a good place. I was not feeling good. And I remember when I got to that acknowledgement of, yeah, maybe I need to take a different direction with this. Maybe I can't just fix this on my own. Maybe I can't just spiritual woo woo this shit away. Like, maybe I actually need to deal with this and sit with this. And that was like, I think I relate it. Again, I'm not comparing it, I'm not saying it's the same, but when I'm working with other people that have addiction issues as well, I think always the root is acknowledgement, regardless of what it is, what you're experiencing. I related to that because I actually need to acknowledge here that I have issues going on that I'm kind of choosing not to look at, and pretending that don't exist, and claiming to be this fantastic reader, which I was, but how can you be doing that when you're not doing your own work? That's like you just bringing the energy in to go out, you're not actually holding it in self. And that's what I felt like, felt like a vessel rather than an energy worker. I felt like I was just doing the work rather than doing the work on me.
I hear
And
that.
that was a big thing. And so, yeah, long story short, I had some discussions with my family after multiple outbursts and arguments, which was valid in some ways. I'm still owning that, still think it's valid. I'm still, 10 years later, I'm still saying, listen, that shit needed to be said. Maybe just the way I used to say it was very wrong, but still own the stuff that needed to be said. But yeah, the conversations came up like, do you want to go to therapy or like counseling? And at first it was like, I'd been to what we call NHS, so it's like government funded. A lot in the UK, you can go to the doctors and get like referred. And God, I'm not dissing the service as a whole, but wow, what I received was not useful or supportive or conduit with support for
Got
me
it.
in any way. It was actually damaging. I had this guy that I went to for 8 weeks, and I went there on that session with the intention to cancel it because I was like, I can't keep bringing up this trauma, and just like I was crying after every session, like it was really bad. And I went to tell him, and he was like, oh, just before I said, oh, he was like, I think you have bigger issues than I can deal with. I'm not qualified to deal with your issues. And I was like, oh damn, like I've just been told by a therapist that my issues are too much and I need to find someone else. And I was like, so where do I go? He was like, oh, the waiting list is about 18 months. And I was like, oh, wonderful. Thanks. Like, I
Got
just
it.
remember feeling like, yo, no, this is not. There was multiple other multiple experiences that was negative, but yeah, we'll get into that. But it was just not conducive to me. So my initial reaction to that comment was fear and panic, and oh, I don't want to do that again. It was a lot of resistance. But then I sat with it for about a week, and I thought, because this was going private, so to actually go pay someone to do that, which I'm not being funny, but sometimes when you pay someone for a service, you actually receive a better service, than you're getting on other methods. And long story short, I found this lovely lady. She was a hypnotherapist counselor, and it took me 6 months of going for her to actually say, like, are you going to actually tell me anything that you're paying me to tell me rather than something you just tell your friends and family? And I thought, oh, shit, like, she's called me out here. Like, we need to go deep. But yeah, it went really deep. And the main thing, I guess, from 2 years ago in there was I learned that I can acknowledge my pain, my suffering, my inner child suffering, my inner teen, all that without blaming anyone. I don't need to say that they were bad people, anyone was a bad person, anyone did anything wrong. I am just also acknowledging that some things happened that my needs want met, and maybe myself responded to things differently that want the best, and
Sure.
I really took that deeply in my inner self. I learned so much more, but out of like the main key thing I would say is I learned to validate my own emotion because I constantly felt like I was blaming other people for it. If I was acknowledging it in self, and that was a real, I just never could sit with it. I never, and so my inner child and teen kept coming up and coming up and coming up to be sat with. And I was like, no, I'm not blaming it. I've got a great, great life, great, and it was just like complete ignorance to the pain that was going on because it wasn't as bad as everybody else's and because it wasn't like deeply traumatic and because there wasn't like specific incident that one specific thing that absolutely fucked me up. There was no reason why I was so fucked up, so I didn't understand. And then just sitting with it all, sorry for swearing there, but sitting with it all, it really taught me to just acknowledge it really. And I guess that's where I sat with it and felt that choice of, okay, where do I want to go with this? Which orientation? I loved what you said there. Which orientation do I want to take? Because it's true. It's like which pathway, which choice. Okay, once you look at it, it's like knowing that the ingredients are poisoned. It's like once you know, you really can't really eat it anymore because you don't enjoy it because you know what's in it. And so it's like once you
Yep.
know what you've got trauma going on, you can't keep ignoring it like that, and you see it come up in your daily life, and you're like, oh,
Yep.
damn, like maybe that is true, maybe that is that. And then you start to recognize, and then you start to release, and you start to let go of the patterns and the programs and the behaviors that you are thinking, like, actually, no, that's not serving me anymore. And then all of a sudden, one day, maybe a year later, 10 years later, I don't know, you wake up and you don't feel as heavy, and you don't feel as sad, and you don't feel as angry, and you're still helping people along the way. I'm sure everybody else is doing that, but you just kind of feel like, oh, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe this is manageable. And I just wanted to put that out there for anyone that is experiencing any form of mental health because sometimes if you don't have anybody around you that's experienced it, there is the lack of understanding. Like, oh, just get up, just you can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. No, no,
Right.
no.
For anybody
And
who's deeply felt that, heard that from somebody who's like, and just think positively. I'm like,
just like,
ah,
please stop. Like, please stop. Like, no.
not
Oh, it makes
helpful.
me burn. It really does. It gets me fuming that because it's like, oh, and I know it comes from a place of love. That's the thing. I do acknowledge it comes
Sure.
from a place
I
of
get
love. I
that.
think it was my mum that said it to me when I was about 16. Like, so it came from a place of love. She never experienced it in her life, never once experienced that overwhelm, that panic, that fear. That some people maybe are just wired differently to be more receptive to the overwhelm and it
Right.
more physically like symptoms on your body, And again, she's learned a lot over the years, and she had to. And if you wanted to keep these people in your life, it is a choice, to research a little bit, to learn, and that you don't need to do anything. Sometimes it's just watching, observing, and learning to connect and learning, asking like, how can I support? What is a good way to support? And also being open to receiving it, like you were saying earlier. That's huge.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say that's a big portion of it. Because once at least for myself, I get in there, I figure out what's moving around, what program I might be caught on, or what emotion. There are times where, like, I just know I can't do that one by myself.
Yeah.
I just need a safe space to be held, or the biggest thing for me is just be witnessed in it. I don't need anybody to try and fix or speak or anything like that in the space.
Yeah.
Like witnessing it, it can be enough. But I've had plenty of times where I've had to orient myself and be like, yeah, I literally can't do this one myself. What am I going to do? Which space am I going to go to? I'm going to go to a somatic therapy, or am I going to go to a therapist? Or, those ages ago for me in certain ways. But which way? And there's no right or wrong way to this. If you feel like you need some sort of support running through this space for mental health or energetic health or whatever you want to call it for yourself, um, take the time to be able to be like, okay, like I'm gonna admit it. I think that's the first thing. Like I'm gonna
Right.
do this. Otherwise, like I'm in hyper independence. I'm gonna avoid the situation, and then I'm gonna cut myself off from any connection that I could possibly have to anybody. That's been my route in the past, and so I have to be open to being vulnerable just a little bit more to open up that space to be able to receive or get the right support that I'm looking for or whatever the case is.
Yeah. 100. I love what you said there. Because it is difficult. Like, I didn't realize, again, all these journeys, I should have clicked on, but I didn't realize how hyper independent I was. And then obviously going to a hypnotherapist, and again, like you say, spiritual health, energetic health, it does all tie in together. It's all connected, you know, and you'll be called to what you're called, but we're here for a reason. And I think at the time, I felt like I needed, just like you say, someone to just hold space. And sometimes in the spiritual world, it's very like, what can we release? What can we fix? What can we,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
And I love that. Like, we need that shit. But also, I think at that time, I just needed someone to talk to that was just like not gonna fix it all and spiritual
Yeah.
it away. Like I was saying, I could do that. I can do that. So I could have done that. You know, I needed just, yeah, someone to talk to. And so it's recognizing, first of all, what the issue, what the problem, what the manifestation, the physical symptoms, whatever it is,
Sure.
sitting with that, and then sitting with, okay, what is it that I need right now? And you know, you might have to try a couple of different things. One thing might not, the shoe might not fit for one, just you know, one box. It might have to try various aspects. When people ask
Yep.
me how I healed my stomach illness, I'm like, listen, 10 years of doing work, you know, it was not, and I still won't say it's healed. It's still
Yep.
probably my most sensitive area of my body, and I still approach that area with caution when doing energy work and physical energy, you know, still a very sensitive area of my body. So I don't think it's fully healed. I just don't experience the same physical torment that I used to experience with the solar plexus, you know. And so, again, it's years worth of mind, body, and soul. That's how I compartmentalize it, working on the physical level with the body, detoxification, and all the minerals, and balancing diet, exercise, grounding, all them things. The
Sure.
body, the mind, also the thought patterns, the processes, the exposure to the things that
Mhm.
you're around, what you're watching, who you're around, the how you think about things on an everyday basis, perspective, and then the soul, you know, the past life, the trauma, the emotional trauma stored in the body, nervous system, patterns and programs that are running from multiple dimensional planes and whatever the Jeff. You know, there's so much that goes on that you can't possibly expect yourself to be healed. That's what we're trying to say. Like, it's just
Yep.
recognizing it, sitting with it. And this time, you know, I did bring up mental health because I do think Christmas time, as I mentioned on the last video, I was like Mrs. Claus, you know, and I love that energy because it's so beautiful and it is a beautiful part of Christmas. That, and you guys know I love that sparkly, magical Christmas family time. My kids are 2 and 9 month old, so it's very magical in our little home right now for them. You know, it's lovely. And but I do also see how this time can bring extreme loneliness, abandonment issues, family trauma, remembrance, not feeling like you have anywhere to belong or connect with or to be seen. It can bring up all the emotional trauma from having bad Christmases as a child. You know,
Sure.
there's so much trauma that can be brought up at this time of year. And also, a huge one is the pressure. Like, I'm even experiencing it, and I'm very think high, positive, conscious energy. And I'm like, bro, I'm still experiencing this. Or have I got them enough? What if I see them and I ain't got them a gift and they've got me a gift, and I feel like, have I got their kids a gift, and have I got enough to get that, and have I got enough Christmas decorations up outside in the new house? And it's like, whoa, calm down a minute. Like, let's just sit with the soul a second because the human's going a bit wild, you know? And it's like, have I done Christmas baking? Have I done enough crafts? Have I done this, that? We're not genies. You know, we can't
Yep.
just magically do all this stuff. Like, do what you feel like doing. Yeah, I've been to a few bits like Christmas light show and a market and stuff, and it was lovely. But the pressure and the expectation sometimes does not
Expectations.
match, you know, reality. When we got there, it was freezing cold, the kids crying, everyone wanted to go in different shops. It was raining, and it was like, oh my God, you know, at the Christmas
Yeah.
market, and it was real. I got what I wanted to go for, but it was a very kind of rushed and stressful experience in some ways, beautiful in others. And I guess it's knowing that that's okay. That it doesn't have to look like a Hallmark Christmas movie, you know, like we're gonna, it's all good. Like, do your best, show up how you want to show up, bring what you can. I'm making a lot of handmade candles and handmade paintings, and you know, it's just stuff like that to bring a little bit of the pressure off of buying for everybody. I'm just
Right.
gonna batch make some
Right.
lovely little
Right.
crystal candles, and I'm gonna make them some Christmas cards. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not gonna overdo the stress. It's there in my head. The pressure's there, but I'm just choosing to send it on its way and not choose to live into that vibration and feed it. And I'm choosing to choose peace for myself, for my kids, for my family around me, you know, and because all that stress and anxiety, it's pressure and expectation on self to be better,
Yeah.
to be doing better, to
Yeah.
be better than the neighbours and the next person and the da 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 da.
All
Stop.
the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for myself that it just covers expectation, expectation of myself, expectation from others. What do we normally do this time of year? What does that look like? I'm really grateful because with my family, we set this up years ago where we're like, we don't want to have all this for Christmas. Like the
Yeah,
main thing is like we want to have a connection point. It doesn't matter if we buy presents, if we decide to come together and we can all bring something to eat. My mom doesn't want to sit and make dinner.
yeah,
So and we don't have any expectations on that, or for Thanksgiving either. We kind of we
yeah.
set that pace, and then we connect and have fun when we feel like that's appropriate. But other than that, it's not a big deal. And I said that for myself and my partner this year too, where I'm like, I don't really do all that with the expectation stuff. It's not something that I put on myself.
No,
So,
it's a thing. It is a thing, and it's hard because I want to be like involved with the kids, and I want to be really like,
yep.
this is what's different for me. Like I've lived the whole. I'm not participating in this commercial holiday. Like I was very in my ego. There's all this commercial satanic rituals, blah, 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 blah. Like, and to be fair, I've always loved Christmas, but a big part of me does know that there's a lot of shit involved with it. Like any holiday, like literally any holiday, you could list off so many bad things about it and where it comes from, its origins being bad. And as I've always said, it's about intention and about what you want to get out of the experience and what you're going into it wanting to receive. And mine, again, like yours, is huge on family connection, being with family, nice music on, good food, nice laughter and joy and games and stuff like that. But there is still programs running in my brain 100% on like wanting to like bring more, wanting to be more, and like wanting to have enough and feel like, oh, maybe next year I'll be able to just get everybody what they want. But why is that a thing? Like, why even is
A
that a
good
thing?
question.
Like, that's what
I
I've been
want
sitting
to ask
with.
myself more of that.
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. I'm like, I sit driving and I'm like, yeah, okay, why is this a thing? That's what I say to myself when I'm driving. Why is this a thing? Because it shouldn't be a thing. Like, my point I think I'm asking of that is where is this coming from within me? Of like,
Uh-huh.
okay, like, because I'm not choosing to ask myself these like, oh, you should be doing this and this and this, but then it's there. So there's clearly like pressure coming from somewhere, or it's coming from somewhere inside, And so yeah, I've been really sitting with that. And to be honest, I don't actually have a full answer. I think maybe it's my age now, I guess, because I'm like 28 and I have two kids. I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I am meant to be the one that buys people gifts and like buys their kids gifts. And like, oh yeah, like that's me now. And so I'm kind of adjusting to this new role and this new shift in life. Like I genuinely feel like having kids sent me from being a young adult to like an adult. Like I became a full adult, it was a shift. It was a shift. It was just a different like I don't get Christmas presents off my nan anymore. My kids do, you know what I'm saying? Like real shame. So no joking. So the energy's shifted and I noticed that. I feel like, yeah, I went from being the cousin that went to visit the cousins to the one that now has the kids come with the cousins and have cousin sleepovers, and now I'm the auntie that does that, not the cousin going visiting. And it's a strange shift. It's very strange, and I'm still adjusting. But yeah, that's where I could say the pressure is coming from. Is this change in my life, my time in life, and guess like does that come with the other expectations again with the children and knowing other people with children and knowing they're going to buy my kids. It's that exchange in pressure and feeling like you're not bringing enough. And so yeah, it's made me feel uncomfortable. I've been sitting with it. I've been trying to figure out a happy medium of like you say, is this the year after this Christmas? Because obviously I haven't done it at this point and it's already done, but of like saying, maybe we don't participate on that to that level and like putting a boundary in place with people
Right.
in a nicest way. Boundaries are the key to making change. And so if you are looking to like changing the direction, whether that's with your mental health or the pressure or anything, sometimes just saying like, I need time right now. I need time off work. I need time away
Mhm.
from people. I need time off the responsibilities of the house, or I need a couple of days away from doing whatever it is that you need time away from. I'm just kind of giving as much examples so that you feel validated in yourself to be able to take time, whatever it is you're doing, ever it is that you're doing. If you need time, even if that's just a little bit of reflection time, find a way to make that happen, even if it's like for an hour a week.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a really brilliant point to bring up with all this is figure out what your needs are in the space, what you feel like you need to do for yourself. Even when energetics get high or there's familial dynamics that come up that are intensive, or it's just that time of the year where everything gets all yeah.
Mhm.
What is it that I need for myself? What do I need to do? What time do I need to take? And for me, that's where I'm at. I'm like, I just need some quiet time, alone time. I don't really want to be out there, out and about too much right now. Um, and being able to state boundaries and needs, I feel like is a whole other piece to this too. Are you able to verbalize what you need in the space? Like I've written down several different things just to give out to people, just to be like, hey, if I'm in this space, this is what's going to happen, just so that they're aware of that. I don't need you to do anything with it.
Yep.
This is where I'm going to be, or I'm just saying, hey guys, I'm not going to be doing a lot of things this winter. I need to be internal.
Yeah. Yeah. And what great ownership of that, and I guess it's having the confidence to do them things a little bit. And a lot of that confidence comes from enough self-love to know that we deserve what is best for us, even if sometimes that means we have to sacrifice being there, helping, doing things for others, whatever it is. Like sometimes that needs to happen for you to feel whole at that time and loved
Yeah.
and helped by yourself, But I loved what you said about not being afraid to ask for help too, because throughout the whole journey of years, I think therapy was a great start because it was like I opened up, but it was still a payment thing. So I guess you feel like you're okay because you're paying someone to receive that service, like, same. So I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. But then asking people in my life was a total different kettle of fish, and that changed when I
Sure.
had children from having my first son to then my second daughter. I realized like the reason why I suffered so much in the first postpartum was because I do give off a very I'm doing it my way kind of vibe, and then I didn't at that time ask for help to do it my way. I was like, this is the way I'm doing it. And I guess people felt a little bit intimidated or shut off from my experience, which I totally understand. But I gained some reflections from a couple of friends, and she was like, I'm sorry you felt that way, and I wanted to be there, but I didn't know how. And I guess maybe that was also me asking and them asking too, a bit of both. Um, but it made me think a lot by the time I had my second daughter, my second baby, my little girl. I thought, right, okay, I need to ask specific people for specific things
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
know like they can help me with. They have the capacity to do. And I did, and it made the experience so much easier. And it actually felt like, oh, I do have a village. I just need to ask them, and I need to ask the right people for the right things at the right time, rather than um, being upset because no one showed up. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I play both those roles. Where I'm
Yeah, yeah.
man, look at that. And then I've shit it on myself and all those things when
Mm.
I had to take ownership of the fact that I wasn't the one speaking up. I didn't ask directly. And they were trying to offshoot things that they thought I would need, but obviously that
Yeah.
wasn't helpful. So now I'm pretty specific on, hey, this would be helpful, this would not be helpful.
Hmm.
I could
Hmm.
really use this. And I always note it with capacity, like, and do you have the capacity or space for
Yeah,
this? Because sometimes people don't, and that's
that was
okay.
the thing. Yeah, and that was the thing I had to learn. I guess, again, expectation was a huge thing for me. And in part of it, I think some of it comes with just being human. Like you kind of have an expectation that your parents or your family, your close family, they're just going to be there because you'd be there for them. And like, why are they not there for you? Especially when they have been there in other ways. I
Sure.
guess you do get an expectation, and I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying like that is definitely something I experienced of not even a question that certain people would be there, and when they didn't have capacity. But that's the thing that wasn't communicated, and so I was kind of left wondering, and then they was left like on the doing their own thing and feeling kind of judged, I guess would be the right word, and criticized, and that whole dynamic shift came from not having conversation with each other about, oh, I'm could do with this support, but I'm not the other person receiving that they're not at capacity to be able to bring that support, and
Sure.
then establishing a different dynamic. And if that conversation's not had, that can create
Real
real tension, like
a lot of
real,
distance too, I would say too. Like I've
yeah,
lost friends that way for sure, where I haven't done that, or I've said certain things out of my own perspective and feeling the trust there. And, from my perspective, that got a little judged or turned around when I could have said that a little bit more specifically. Like, this is how I view and perceive things.
Mhm.
This is how I do things. This is me. I'm not saying that you have to take that or you have to feel the same way or perceive in that way. What would be helpful in this position because I view things that way would be da 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 da. And if you
Yeah.
don't have capacity for that, that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that's on both. Like I said, that was massively on me as well the first time round, not having them conversations because I just didn't feel like I needed to. But again, sometimes you always have to, again, that was my fear of being vulnerable, my fear of
Yeah.
confronting my own
Yeah.
emotions,
Yep.
having them difficult emotional conversations and actually saying, like, can you help me? That's whew, big thing for me to do. It's a
Oh, yeah.
real,
Yep.
real comfortable feeling in my body. And so I'm guessing like if you don't show that your energy's open, I get very, okay, then I won't ask, and it's very kind of defensive. And
Yep.
that was
Yep.
the issue, I think, was not having a vulnerable emotional conversation, multiple times to be able to even address and establish any form of connection there. And this will happen. I know this has happened to multiple other people I've spoke to and experienced with. And this part of being human. It doesn't mean you can't love that person. It doesn't mean you still don't, and vice versa. If this has been you and you've not been able to show up because you don't have that capacity, again, like that's not, like Z said, that's okay. It's absolutely
Oh, yeah.
okay. Like we all have things we're going through. We all have emotions we're going through. I would just say the best thing to do is to just communicate. Communicate what you're going through. You don't need to be over detailed. You don't need to explain yourself. No one's asking that. Just a simple, I'm not at capacity to be able to bring that level of support right now. I can check in whenever, da da da, like, just so that it's like a follow on in some way, but it doesn't need to be anything physically, emotionally, anything. Just like, listen, I'll check back in when I'm there, or if and when I'm feeling okay. And it's that again, removing the pressure. Yeah,
Exactly,
so
exactly. And
important.
I think communication is a really big part of this, even as we're talking about spiritual language and things like that that might fly up that be misunderstood. I've done that a lot. In fact, the misunderstood was one of the biggest things that I had to work through. I'm still working through it, still working through it as far as how I perceive and I work with certain things, language. And like I've said before, the spiritual language at least helped me give me a step for my own perspective and what I was feeling internally. But then the language didn't
Right.
fit me anymore. It just wasn't something that my body appreciated or liked. So we turned it into what we needed in our own space with that. So again, I would say just break it down for yourself and what things feel like for you. If it doesn't work, that's okay. You can do another direction. Again, reorient yourself. Maybe ask for help somewhere else, or write down your own definitions. And then communication is confidence. It's a skill set. It's you have to keep doing it. It's can I be vulnerable in this
Oh, it
point?
really is.
Even ask for an open conversation because I have done that so much in my past where I'm like, something's up. I would rather just communicate about it. And I noticed more and more I did that. It also people really, really uncomfortable to have an open conversation. And then I needed to realize within myself that, okay, that's not the group that I'm actually wanting to attract here. Okay. I want to attract, I don't care if it's
Oh,
two people in my world who would be open enough to be like, hey, something's on the table. It's not feeling right. Can we just have a little open chat about it? So that we can move through it because this connection is important to me.
yeah, and it is difficult when you try and initiate that and it's met with rejection.
For
It does hurt a lot. It really does hurt a lot. And I'm not saying that that's not a potential risk that you might experience when you're trying to reach out and create vulnerable communication. Like you are potentially facing the risk of rejection, and that is going to hurt, and you're probably going to grieve and feel all
for sure.
sorts of wounds surface. But I think for everyone involved, it's really important. For me personally, it's important that I know, right, okay, I tried. I tried to communicate.
Yep,
I reached out an olive branch, tried to reconnect. I didn't stay in ego and stubbornness and my own emotions. I tried to zoom out and see it from both perspectives. And I tried to see that I am a human. I am at fault too. There's never a situation where I have been 100% million. I mean, maybe there is some situation, but you see what I'm saying? In the overall, usually both people have a little bit of a contribution to the
for sure.
situation. Again, I'm not saying every, but in the overall. And I acknowledge that. I do acknowledge that that's a thing, and that we do need to sit with sometimes where am I creating this? But also, like I said, the more sometimes you get rejection. You can't keep putting out this olive branch. You just keep getting it snapped. You know, there does come a time where you're just gonna go, okay, I'll plant my branch somewhere else. I'll plant a tree somewhere else. I'll let it grow in nice soil where
Yep.
it's not keep
Yep.
getting snapped off. And again, there's nothing wrong with any. We're all human. We're all gonna make mistakes. We're all gonna not be able to communicate sometimes, and then maybe be able to communicate later on. We're all gonna, meet people that are not quite right and need to shift. And but all these things are showing us to mold us into the person that we need to be in terms of the right
That's it.
environment, the right support network, and even sometimes acknowledging, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I sometimes acknowledge that I have a love for this person, I'm connected with them. I know now that they cannot meet some of the emotional needs I have for whatever reason, because of their own
Yep.
wounds, experiences, whatever.
Sure. Sure.
I understand. And I have a deep love for them to a point where I have a knowing that I want them in my life.
Yep.
So I accept that that's not the person I'm going to go to for communication and
Dot,
support
dot,
on
dot.
certain
Yep.
things because they're
Yep.
not capable of doing that. That doesn't mean they're a bad person, doesn't mean I don't love them, but they're there in my life and I receive and give them different things that I exchange with them, different
Yep.
experiences, different conversations, but emotional support is definitely not one of them. And releasing that expectation out of that dynamic and relationship really strengthened the relationship because it allowed it to just
Yep.
be what it is. There doesn't need
Yep.
to be a deeper emotional relationship and there doesn't need to be a pressure on that ever evolving to that level. Like I'll be able to receive and give other deep emotional connections with my other people, but I can still have a connection. But that was new to me to learn that okay, there was a whole dynamic here that didn't work out, but then not just ending that chapter, actually starting a different chapter based on different dynamics and different boundaries.
Yeah, and I've definitely done that too, where I'm like, oh, this isn't going to change. I'm going to close that chapter.
Yeah.
And now over the past, especially the last couple of years with my connections, it's been very much so like, no, I want to move through this. I'm just going to know that this is a different dance, right? And my body had to know that it's a different dance. Just
Mm-hmm.
because something happened doesn't mean it's going to go away. That's a part of my deep wounding and things like that running through there. And also, it's important to me, so I like to keep it open. Look, we're going to take a different route. I'm going to orient myself in a different way. This is the type of relationship we're going to have with that. This is the person I'm going to talk to for these things. Now, with that being said, those people, we've actually gone into a deeper state of a fuller connective base because I left it open to that, so it's possible,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and there's certain dynamics out there that they're just going to be really good friends that I can have a chat to for certain things, and that's going to be it.
Have a nice spiritual chat or,
Yep.
nice connected thing, and they're absolutely fine. But yeah, I guess I learned to accept both. That they can still be in your life, you can still love them. You just need to not to outsource in different directions because there's another misconception in the spiritual community that we have to deal with everything on its own. We have to do everything internally, and if you're getting outside help, then
Yep.
why are
That's
you relying on other people? Why are you being codependent and needy? No, I'm sorry, I don't agree. Like, I don't agree. I don't think you should outsource everything to someone else or specifically not one person. It's too
sure.
much, but it's absolutely fine to require communication, support, friendship, connection,
Absolutely.
laughter, companionship, like any of these things is absolutely fine to require
That's
some
being human.
more.
Again, like
Yeah.
that's the whole part of it. I think it's funny
Mhm.
because I wrote out a whole misconception list for myself this last week, and then I also put in my nervous system reset. But where
Wow.
there's just these misconceptions with that, and I feel like that's a huge one, and it's one that like my body's been dealing with the last little while, where it's like I have to do everything on my own. I'm like, no,
And it's
no,
like you're a failure if you didn't get there on your
not
own. And
strong enough or whatever the case is, and that at least for myself it's not the case. My body needs connection, it needs community, it does need to have certain conversations with other people that also allow it to grow and stabilize. So I just want to say to everybody, like, that's okay. And figure out what your needs are within that and shoot for it if you want a lot of friends or connections or deep spaces, and that's a need for you because it is for me in my body. My body actually does need that, does need
yeah,
physical support sometimes. You're not weak for wanting that. You're not failing because you need that. It's just a natural facet of you being human and actually what you like, especially if it makes you excited.
yeah. And not feeling any shame. That's the big one.
Yep.
Don't carry any shame or any guilt or any bullshit about feeling less than for requiring support at certain times.
Yeah.
Mm.
Nugget.
So, but no, it's true. I think releasing the pressure, releasing expectation, changing dynamics, putting in boundaries, checking in with self. Actually, first of all, having the acknowledgement of what's going on around you to be able to choose which direction you want to go in. And again, asking for support, being open to receiving it, not just being the one always giving it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just want to add to that. It's also okay if you don't want to be in a certain space or with certain people. I've done that plenty of times where I'm like, this is just not the right fit for me.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
I'm not going to try forcing it or over explaining myself because I've done that before to try and stay in a space anymore. That's just not where I'm at. If it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit with a lot of grace and also gratitude. Sometimes it wasn't. That wasn't there either. It was just nope.
Yep. Yeah. No,
Not
do you know, you're right? You've got to let it go sometimes. You've got to just go, do you know what? This is not serving me. I've got to cut the ties and the energy that it might work out and the anticipational
yep,
energy.
yep. The
And
hopium.
yeah, 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 literally that. Cutting that. And then sometimes you might find universal work in mysterious ways and you end up recrossing paths. Sometimes you'll never speak again. And that's the
That's okay.
look at the draw, you just flip the coin and you'll find out later on. And again, maybe who know no one will ever know because it's all based on which timeline each person chooses at different times and different pathways. So
Definitely.
that's just again, spinning the wheel and we'll see. Being open to letting the like you say, the hopium go though, the anticipation of knowing. It'll be what's gonna be.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big one to work with.
Yeah. It's huge. Huge.
All right, overall, this has been great. I really
Yeah, I
appreciate
really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed it. My laptop just started making a funny noise. I wondered what it was doing, but it stopped now. So it's
it.
it just decided to play a little tune for me as we were ending. But yeah, I really enjoyed it tonight. And I'm not sure if this will be his last one before Christmas because the next one might come out just after Christmas. So if it is,
Right.
I'm sending everybody a beautiful Christmas and a happy New
Thanks.
Year. Even though it's not the real New Year, but we'll roll with it with the energies, you know. But yeah, it can be a beautiful time. And even if for you it's really been a negative time, maybe take this year to reclaim it and re-choose how you want to make it look. I've never really been like the most internal, like housewifey cooking cookies and stuff like that. But again, with the kids, it's very, you just kind of naturally end up doing it, with the kids. And I guess I'm just readjusting to that and not having to look like a certain way or do a certain way or be the same as the past. I'm just rolling with whatever is naturally flowing in and allowing that to redefine itself this year. And so I guess that's my message. You redefine yourself this Christmas and let yourself figure out what that looks like to you, even if that
Give
means
yourself some
absolutely not
permission,
acknowledging.
I would say. Yeah. Give yourself some permission to be
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
Whatever you need to do for yourself, whatever boundaries you need to set, whatever feels like is appropriate for you, whatever type of support you need, give yourself permission to explore those arenas.
yeah. And don't forget to spiritually protect yourself over Christmas. There's some wild energies.
All right, everybody. We love you
All
lots.
right.
Have a great holiday or whatever that turns out for you. And also, if you want to ask any questions, pop them below.